A difficult car and a difficult schedule. The first few rounds of this season have been challenging for many drivers, to say the least. But we can definitely say the momentum is with Ove Trengerade, with a 100% podium record in the first 3 rounds. Let's see if he can hold on to it in virtual Kent, as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends series from Brands Hatch. And you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Maurice Gardner. With me in the booth is multiple-time Grand Prix Legends champion Mick Claridge. Behind the scenes is our director Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Brands Hatch is a classic track perfectly suited to a classic car. Let's head to the track guide to see why this place is so feared and revered.
Welcome to Brands Hatch. When popular British racing circuits get listed, this track just to the southeast of London often finds itself near the top. The extensive history of the venue has meant that many famous names in racing have ran laps here. But the stats make it sound deceptively simple, with the Grand Prix and Indy course having 9 and 6 turns respectively. Laps might be short, but they're also fast, and the corners are often a challenge to get right. As you'd expect, that means passing is quite difficult, with most drivers leaning towards sending one up the inside at Druids. You might occasionally see overtakes into the first corner, Paddock Hill Bend, but the blind apex and gigantic drop in elevation make that an errand for only the brave. Many of the corner names pay tribute to famous British drivers from the past decades, such as Hill, Surtees, Sterling, and Clark. In fact, the fame extends beyond the drivers, but to the cars as well, with this place seeing everything from Formula 1 to Formula 4, touring cars, GT cars, motorcycles, and even rallycross. It's a gorgeously scenic venue where lush trees envelop the back half of the course, while the front half is mostly encapsulated inside a natural amphitheater. This makes it extremely popular with race fans who can see a majority of the circuit from many seating positions. With a great location near a major metropolitan hub, a spectator-friendly layout, and an experience that challenges drivers, you can see why this place remains abuzz with racing to this day.
Well, Mick, I've been looking forward to this one. This is always a brilliant track to see some Lotus 49 racing around a beautiful flowing circuit with a couple of overtaking opportunities around the way.
Yeah, it's absolute classic track, ain't it, Reese? Straight away from the start-finish into Paddock Hill Bend, it's such a tough run down into that corner, down into the drop, and then Druids. Trying to get the car woed up there, especially on lap 1 and 2, it's going to be pretty tough. Just a classic track. Just watch out for the cold tyres at the start of the race. It's going to be pretty heavy out there. There's a lot of wear on the track at the moment. Nice fast corners around the back end. Tough on the old shoulders, it seems like, for a few drivers this week. But looking forward to this one as well. Yeah, going to be a classic.
Indeed it is. We're going to be racing for 24 laps around this place, and as we take a look now at the championship standings, no surprise to see that Ove Trengerade is on top. Benjamin Jocko, though, taking the win last round at Belle Isle. He sits in second with Gary Quellen in third. Very good top 5 there with Laus Olsen and Sebastian Tixier as well, with Miro Krajki also holding station there in 6th. A very close top 10, Mick. How are the Formula 2 standings looking?
I shall tell you momentarily when they appear on my screen. There we go. Jurek Wilström is in first place there with David Rossi. David Rossi done a hell of a lot of practice this week. He's looking to move forward there, try and get that lead back. Michael Grissinger in third. Andrew Eng, the absolute veteran, has been here since day 1 in 4th spot. Good showing for Rolly Warback there in 5th. Robert Abrolta 6th. Tobias Harnby in 7th. Cam Porter in 8th. Dave Cohen 9th, and Terry Tromhauser in 10th.
As we take a look now at the Nations Cup standings, well, thanks to Ove Trengerade's efforts, Norway is on top, but Australia in second. That is music to my ears, only 12 points behind. And of course, the Finns always pulling up with some big pace there in third. United States, Spain, Denmark, Singapore, UK, Slovakia, and Germany will round out the top 10 nations here in the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series going into this 4th round. Of course, as I mentioned, 24 laps to race here tonight. Open setups. Pretty much everything you could adjust on the real life car, you can adjust here in the sim, but no spare car. So if you end up having a prang, then you're going to have to pull into the pits for repairs, or otherwise your race is going to be terminal. We have drive-through penalty at 17 incidents and disqualification at 25 incidents, which is par for the course when it comes to official racing here on the iRacing service. The drivers are in qualifying at the moment, and a lot of drivers out there preparing on their outlaps at the moment. And current highest iRating driver in the session is Yan-Shi Lin, and we take a look at him now from the Michigan club, and that is quite a bit of oversteer there coming out of I think that was Jim Clark Bend there, as we check out the weather here at the moment. Mick, it is pretty cold out there, only 21 degrees Celsius track temperature, 20 degree air temperature, and there is no sunlight hitting the track at all. This is going to be difficult for the drivers.
Yeah, this is a total curveball today. The guys have been used to racing in 76, 77 Fahrenheit, and this track usage is the main thing. It's a high usage track today, so the car's going to have absolutely no grip around it, especially on this outlap. I'll be shocked to see very good lap times. I'm expecting maybe low 24s. I don't think the guys are going to get into 23s today.
Yeah, definitely seems that way. Well, John Olsen putting the fastest time on the board so far, 1 minute 25, but now we're getting into the 24s there with Sebastian Tixier, always competitive here in this series. I know Sebastian from his exploits in the Aussie V8s. He's done a couple of rounds in Virtual Racing School V8 Scops that is broadcast over with our friends at SimSpeed TV, and he's certainly gotten a lot of experience in hard-to-drive cars, has Sebastian. Let's see how he goes on his second attempt at a qualifying lap. All drivers get 2 here in the Lotus 49 series. Laust Olsen, 8th on his first lap. Let's see if he can improve. And of course, we have him on the Zoom feed as well. Looks like some pretty serene surroundings there for what he must be going through in the cockpit.
Yeah, I was just watching John Olsen there. I think he's done his second lap there, 25 flat. He's quicker than that today. I'd expect him to be fighting for the win. Should have got a lot faster than that. Should have been low 24s for John. But Seb's looking for his first broadcast win, so he's starting it out right.
That he is. Aitor Sintes Galindo puts in his first lap of the session, goes P19, but we'll have a raft of drivers coming across the line here as Laust Olsen improves to 2nd. That is a magnificent improvement from 8th, but then, wow, there's a lot of joggling around in the standings. Laust Olsen back to 3rd as John Olsen goes to 2nd, and then 3rd as Richard Watson goes P2. Robert Plumley to 8th. We've got the likes of Gary's, Ho and Quellen in 6th and 7th at the moment. Miro Hrajki improving to 17th. We have 27 of our 37 drivers in the session have set times at the moment, and it looks like Over Trengerade, the championship leader, is about to come across the line. We'll stay with Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado briefly, see where he puts himself, and Janne Lehmann goes to P20. What about Over Trengerade? 1 minute 24.2. Okay, that is couple tenths off what Tixier set, so that's a pretty good opening stanza there from Ove, but he has 2.5 minutes remaining to set another lap here. Let's see how he goes through Druids.
Yeah, just watching Uwe, guarantee you he'll be running after the qualifying session and just trying to get another lap in if he can, just for a warm-up, because typical Uwe has done about 15-20 minutes practice today for this race. Was fastest in practice. As I say, typical Uwe, that's just how he is this season, most seasons, to be honest with you. And yeah, he's got a nice handle on the car now, just watching him down into the right hand, a fast right hand, a nice, a bit of an early apex there, nicely on the curb, hard on the power, stays in 3rd gear, turns it in, take load of this curb on the right hand side like he does. That won't be a 1X. You've got to watch the slowdown penalty here on the curb on the inside. Very easy to do, but Uwe's quite nice over there, and he's going to be heading into the higher cambered left-hander now. You can really get on the power early there. Oh, as wide as you like there on the exit curve, though.
That was fantastic there from Over Trengerade, absolutely nailing Sterling Moss Bend, and now through Clark Curve, the last turn to end off the lap. That was a nice smooth run. Let's see if he can dip into the 23s here. Oh, he's going to be slower on this one. And it looks to me as though he has been unable to set that second lap. He just ran out of time there. Well, that's going to be the end of the qualifying session. And now we can go through our grid for this fourth round of the Grand Prix Legends Series. Front row is Sebastian Tixier and Ove Trengerade, with Richard Watson and John Olsen in third and fourth. Laust Olsen starts fifth alongside Neil Kemp. Then we got Gary Ho and Gary Quellen sharing the fourth row of the grid. Top 10 are rounded out by Matt Wright. G'day, Matt. Race with him in another league. And in 10th, Bill Tyler.
11th, Robert Plumley will be streaming this race, as will Javier Mosquera. Timo Latzi in 13th and Jorge Nieves in 14th there. Yangtze Ling was he had provisional pole from one of it, back down in 15th. Miko Michaelo in 16th. Marcel Feister in 17th, David Rossi in 18th, Willy Hellman, don't know that name, be interesting to see how he does, 19th, and Marco Salgado in 20th.
Starting out at 21st is going to be Ferran Grau with Miro Krajki in 22nd. We got Jana Lehmann starting 23rd alongside Glenn Becker. Paul Wilson and Aitor Sintes Galindo start 25th and 26th. Then it's Rolly Wallbank and Emmanuel Pereira sharing row 14. The 15th row of the grid is Nolan Smith and Tobias Harnvey. And rounding out our grid here, Andres Bruno and Corey Lloyd on row 16 with Andrew Eng and Jay Cole, 33rd and 34th. And the last three drivers, Mats Linden, Kai Hansen and Robert Reynolds. An absolutely stacked field here. 37 cars are going to be taking the start here at Brands Hatch. A very short run into Paddock Hill Bend, but you've got to be very careful to ride the bumps and the dips in the racetrack. The revs are rising, and we go green for round 4 of the Grand Prix Legends Series. That's a good start there from Tixier. Over Trengerade wasn't quite able to overtake him there off the line, and Richard Watson almost getting into third there. Oh no, yeah, Tixier running very wide there, and he has lost the lead. Richard Watson gets into P1, overtakes over Trengerade there. Olsen into third, and then it's Laust Olsen and Sebastian Tixier rounding out your top 5 as they come through Graham Hill Bend.
Yeah, just looking down the back there, I think everyone's nice and clean. I think the only trouble was with Seb there. He'll be so annoyed at himself there after doing all the hard work to get pole and on the brink of just getting his first broadcast race. He's got it all to do now just there.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate. Looks like there's been some trouble at the back as well. Timo Laushui and Jorge Nieva off the circuit, and Javier Mosquera as well getting going. And actually, Timo was on his roll hoop, so it was a very big incident there in the midfield on lap 1. As oh dear, there goes Richard Watson by over Trengerade. Goodness gracious me, take it easy, guys, as they make their way across the Grand Prix loop. This is going to be a very highly competitive race. Trengerade gets back by and into the lead. Watson with a bit of a compromised exit there from Sterling Moss. And oh dear, gets rear-ended by John Olsen and heavy into the tyre barrier.
Oh, terrible. I don't know what it was. I don't know if John missed his brake marker there or if Richard was early. Didn't hear what on chat, what they were saying. Such a shame for Richard, though. He was doing so well there. Tough lap.
Yeah, very tough indeed. Well, the race is on now for second as Over Trengerade has a little bit less pressure to deal with at the moment. And we'll see what John Olsen can do to hold off the advances of Laust Olsen with an E, not an O. And Sebastian Tixier trying to recover from losing that first position there with a poor run through Paddock Hill. Sees a gap open on the inside. He almost tried to pass Laust Olsen there, but unable to take advantage. And that is a great exit for the number 7 as they come down the back straight.
This, as you may know, may or may not know, this is Uwe's worst case scenario. He absolutely hates leading a race. I've known him for a very long time now, and he'll tell you himself that. Just be interesting now, see if John Olsen can put some serious pressure on Uwe now as they get around to the third half of the lap, if you call it. There's 3 halves of a lap, Reese.
Indeed. Oh, Tixier just made contact with Laust Olsen there, and they managed to get away with it, but looked like Tixier was just a little bit too hard into the corner, and he's doing the same there through Clark Curb. You can see him right on the the rear, the gearbox of Laust Olsen there, and running a little bit wide there through Clark. Robert Plumley versus Matt Wright there. Wright having to yield to Robert Plumley there, and Wright still in ninth where he started. John Olsen, though, seems he's the one with the pace as Wright tries to get back up the inside of Plumley at Druids. Doesn't work. It's all going on behind them as there's a big oversteer moment for Mikko Makela, and he manages to hold them off for the time being. But, I'm just seeing this side-by-side there for 13th and 14th. Looks like Marcel Pfister getting up the inside of Yuan Ji Lin, and they will keep going as they are. Everyone giving each other a wide berth, but apparently no one's telling Matt Wright that as he tries his best to get by Robert Plumley.
Yeah, great battles there all the way down through the field now, isn't it? I just noticed Seb made it through Laust into Druids. Nice move, nice run down the inside, and he's already on the gearbox of John Olsen now. He's going to be pretty annoyed with himself for first lap mistake there into turn one. He's really going to want to get this back. I know Seb pretty well now. I know how he races. I know how he feels when something like that happens. So yeah, Seb's going to be on the limit in this race.
He absolutely is. And this three-way fight, meanwhile, for ninth is really going off now as Robert Plumley leads Matt Wright and Bill Tyler across the start-finish line, and looks to me like the fastest of them was indeed Plumley, but not by much. Over Trengerade with the fastest lap so far, looking pretty nice in the lead, but as you alluded to, Mick, he evidently is feeling the pressure. But it's all going off behind him. He's definitely being given an advantage.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like I say, I'm just watching that gap between Uwe and Olsen now. 7/10 of a second's not enough for Uwe to start feeling confident. The one thing that he has got on his side, he was quick anyway, and he is actually learning the track. It's the same old Uwe every week. He does actually learn the track during the race. Just sometimes he does it from the lead, which is a bit mind-boggling, really.
Yeah, I know I certainly couldn't do that, as they're briefly obscured by the trees coming across the Grand Prix loop and into Dingle Dell, a corner that has seen a few changes over the years. But this corner has stayed roughly the same as that's a big move. Sebastian Tixier, unfortunately, loses the rear, and that is going to be another very costly error for him. Be careful, Seb. Don't get onto the racing line when you recover. That is a big shame for Tixier as we go to our first replay of the race. He tried to dive up the inside of John Olsen here at Moss Corner, but it didn't work out for him, Mick.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. I know it was a desperate move. I'm just sort of wondering if the weather, the track usage state is catching these guys out. Yeah, it was a night. He just kept enough cool, didn't he, just to not reverse back straight out into the racing line there and collective other cars going past. But yeah, such a shame for Seb there.
Yeah, indeed. It looks like Tixier's all the way back in 18th place now, and having to chase the likes of Janne Lehmann and David Rossi. Well, he is far away from the battle for the lead now, which has actually started to close up a little bit more. I think Ove Trengerade made a little error, and he's starting to fall under some pressure now from John Olsen, who's still carrying that front-end damage from the earlier contact with the Texan of Richard Watson.
Yeah, let's just have a look at the difference in the lap times last time by between the two leaders. Trengerade, 125.183. John Olsen, 125.183.
Oh, my goodness. That's amazing. Barely any difference between these two. This is going to be a fantastic fight for the lead if it continues as it is. They've really gapped the driver of Laust Olsen in third place. Does seem like at the moment it's a battle for third on back, and the top two are with each other as they now come around to complete the fifth lap of 24. And let's see what difference in times there is here. Olsen took 3/10 out of Trengerade that time by, but as you can see, the gap is staying relatively the same, which is interesting.
Yeah, it looks like same gap, but do you know what? I'm really wondering about John Olsen. He's put in so many laps this week and he's been so quick and consistent. I've been following him in some of the practice sessions and he has been really impressive on lap times. And when you just watch the car, it's been as stable as anything. He hasn't lost the back end once on that thing. And if he can just get with Uwe again now, the gap's just opened up now on the straight as they head down into the right-hander. Such a tough corner, so fast. You late apex it, early apex it. As long as you do apex it, you'll be all right. But yeah, just really interesting now to see if John can grab this gap back and put some pressure, because Uwe does not like pressure.
No, that he doesn't. Well, we'll see how he goes then as they make their way through the Dingledale corner. That's a problem for the number 10 there. The 15, sorry. 16, my apologies. Marcel Pfister losing a few places out of that. He's got huge damage apparently, and going off at Sterling Moss Bend. That car is crabbing something fierce, Mick. Something's gone very wrong here for Marcel Pfister.
No idea what's happened there. Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
he's had a huge hit with a 13 car. That's the car you noticed in the first place, wasn't it, Reese? So not sure who the 13 is, but yeah, that's going to be end of race.
Gary
Ho, so in the 13th. So yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing for a little bit further back than that if we could. Here we go. Oh no, this is afterwards where the car's crabbing.
That's where we picked him up.
You're not going to be able to finish that race driving that.
No, certainly not. Well, here's another view then. Pfister right in the midst of this incredible battle here I think this is just outside the top 10, and we'll see Gary Ho just behind him here. Oh, was that Ho coming back onto the track? I think it might have been. Oh, no. Yeah, Pfister actually... Yeah, Pfister making contact with Ho there as he was having some trouble getting back onto the racing line. That's very unfortunate, but in these open-wheeler cars, especially with the construction standards of the late 1960s, that's roughly what you'd expect with contact like that.
Yeah, it just looked like everyone was in that part of the track at the wrong time, didn't they? Everyone was really close up together, and a few brain farts going on, I think, that's all.
Problems I see for Matt Wright. He's starting to drop down the order in the number 18. I think there might have been some contact there or a mistake. It actually looks like Wright has made an error all on his own coming into Moss Corner. He caught the grass coming out of Dingledale and ran wide. So we'll keep our eye on the battle for the lead here. Over Trengerade and John Olsen together for the lead, but they have completely lost the gap that they had to the likes of Laust Olsen and Neil Kemp. So the top four all together now and all fighting hard for the lead of this race.
Yeah, pretty impressed with Laust and Neil there. Don't normally keep up with the front runners as well as they are, but yeah, doing pretty well. Let's see how this progresses.
Yeah, let's see indeed as we right on board with Laust Olsen, chasing down our top two. Nice smooth entry there into the very fast right-hander at the top of the hill. That's one of the most difficult turns to get right in all of motorsport, I think. I never have a good run through there when I'm driving on the sim myself. You can take so much curb there at Dingledale. As you mentioned in qualifying, Mick, you've got to be so careful of the slowdown there. But it seems that Laust has avoided that for the time being, and he is harassing John Olsen now.
Yeah, just another note on the weather and the track state. The cars will not grip up today. Normally they've been just running a few laps and then all of a sudden the car's got a ton of grip. That's just not going to happen today. The car's going to be on ice through the whole race today. Uwe's got to run really wide now to get around the back marker, and that's given John Olsen a massive, great big run there down into Druids, which he cannot make anything happen. Uwe just moved over to the right-hand side to try and cover him a bit. You probably see him in the mirrors getting pretty big quick. So Uwe just lost the apex there again, and now we're going to get onto the back straight, and John's going to feel a bit of pain here, but they know they're both let through now. So onto the back straight we go.
Yeah, Robert Reynolds being very sportsmanlike and giving an awful lot of room to our leaders there, but John Olsen and Laust Olsen are very close now, and Neil Kemp is shadowing them. You see him looming in the background there in the brightly coloured number 15, but he's not going to be able to make an impression on this battle just yet. Trengerade has been, it's been sort of a seesaw in terms of the gap he's had. He's extended it out to maybe, 3-4 tenths of a second at times, but it just keeps coming down from time to time. And here is a good opportunity for John Olsen to get a little slipstream, get a little bit closer to him, coming through Clark Curve. and then the run onto the start-finish stretch. I would call it a straight, but as you can quite plainly see, it is curved on the way into Paddock Hill Bend, and it's so difficult to get the entry right here, Mick. You've raced here plenty of times in this car. What's it like making your way over these big sweeping elevation changes?
Yeah, well, the front straight there, I mean, it's so tough when there's a huge bump right on a gear change. You have to have your gears set up in a certain way at this track to be quick. And there's a huge bump on the front straight where it's right on a gear change, and you've got to watch what you're doing with your throttle. Otherwise, you are going to lose it. And then that entry, as you say, into turn one, you really want to take it as wide as you can, but it's so blind and it's so easy to understeer and miss the apex. And then the next thing that happens if you do miss the apex is you want to get on power as early as you can, and then you've got to watch out for the car bottoming out, and then it will dart to the right and you'll lose the back end that way, and then you've got to worry about stopping for druids. So yeah, it is one of the toughest tracks, one of the toughest corners on the track, and one of the toughest tracks on iRacing, I think.
Yeah, especially in a car like this with very soft suspension, treaded tyres. I mean, this car dates from the era of Formula One where they were really starting to make the tyres wider, but they still hadn't quite figured out slick tyres at that point. So you really got to slide these cars a little bit to get the best out of them. Of course, that is assuming that the track is at a reasonable temperature, which it certainly isn't here. So it'd be like driving on ice for these guys. And it seems that's been the case for John Olsen in the last couple of laps, plus feeling the pressure from Laust and Neil, because over Trengerade's gap is now out to 0.7 of a second and seesawing around that point. So it seems to me that now the battle is for second once again, but just watch, Mick, in a lap's time we'll probably be telling a very different story.
Yeah, true. Just to go back to what you were saying about the downforce, it was this was the last year that cars had no downforce. In '68, they started sprouting tiny little wings. That was not for grip. That was to stop the car rising off the track at high speed. So it just tells you how the technology was back then when these guys raced. The cars actually did race here in '68, and it was a hell of a race. Was on YouTube. It's not anymore for some reason, but yeah, never mind about that. Let's watch this one. Let's watch this battle for the lead. This is such a close battle, ain't it, Reece? I wasn't expecting this to be this close, to be honest with you. I thought Uwe would pull out a bit of a gap on John, maybe not. But, you know, I didn't expect Laust and Neil to be involved here. And it's not going to take much for any of these guys to take the lead and try and get this.
Yeah, not going to take too much at all, as there's some traffic there on the front stretch. A car going very slow indeed. That was Timo Lausui, who we saw flipped on his lid on lap one. He's just taken his time letting everybody go there down the front straight. And looking at the lap times for our leaders, yeah, it is very close. 1:24.92 last time round for Over Trengerade. Compare that to a 1:24.83 for John Olsen and a 1:24.81 for Laust Olsen. Neil Kemp in the low 1:25s, but keeping them very honest. These guys are fighting tooth and nail, and they're not able to take anything out of each other. Having said that, one mistake from any of these guys will be able to change the entire face of this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like the guys are taking it easy, or, you know, if anyone's wondering whether someone's trying to wait till later on before they make a move, that just doesn't happen in this car. People will just want to race and race hard. The guy who does that the most is Uwe. He just wants to be out there and race his head off, I'll say.
Yeah, well, he's definitely doing that at the moment, having to keep these three behind him as they come down into Clark Curve. Back at Robert Plumley, meanwhile, we saw him fighting with Matt Wright just earlier. Of course, Wright is definitely out of the picture now after his mistake coming out of Dingledell. Now Robert is starting to run up to the back of Gary Quellen, and Plumley has the third most positions gained in the top 10. He's up 5 spots from where he started. 6 spots up for Yanji Lin, and 8 spots up for Mikko Makela, who has had a pretty good race there in 8th spot at the moment. But we see Plumley here really putting the pressure on Gary Quellen. The times were pretty equal on the last lap, but looking at their best lap times so far in the race, it seems Plumley has the edge. He would set a mid to high 1 minute 24. Gary Quellen has yet to get under the 125 mark.
Yeah, Gary Quellen, he's been around for years and years in the car. He's been around longer than me, in fact. And one thing you'll notice about Gary, I don't want the commentators curse him, but he is one of the hardest guys to get round on track. He never leaves a gap, never. And he's a clean as you like driver. No one's ever got a word said about him bad. But yeah, he's one of the toughest guys to get round. So Robert Plumley's got his work cut out. But do they look like they're catching the guys in front there, right, Reese?
Yeah, potentially. They are starting to jet up to the back of them. We'll tell the full story, I suppose, when they come across the line and we see what lap times they're setting. Some trouble for Janne Lehmann in the midfield, I thought I'd just mention, but as they come across the line, that is a new fastest lap of the race from Over Trengerade, 3/10 quicker than Olsen and Kemp, but yeah, you see that there. Mick, Quellen and Plumley running 124.6 and 124.7. Their pace is at least equal with the Olsen and Olsen duo in second and third. So this could be a six-way battle for the lead soon.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. That doesn't normally happen here. Six-way battle for the lead in 49. No, that doesn't normally happen. So this is going to be... This is going to be interesting, especially if we get some dodgy back markers. Oh, there's a pass going on. I can't see who that was. Oh, there's a back marker there. Jay Cooley, they all make it round him on the back straight. Luckily, he did lift off nice and early there for guys. I think absolutely everyone passed him on the back straight.
Indeed. Looked a little bit borderline for Quellen and Plumley, who got by him just before the turn-in point for the Grand Prix loop right-hander. But they are continuing to harass the back of the top four, and it's looking more and more like top three at the moment. You can see that Laust Olsen has managed to pull a little gap over Neil Kemp. They are separated by about 0.6 of a second as they come across the line, and now John Olsen, he's been staring at the back of Over Trengerade pretty much the whole race, and oh, hello, that's very wide there from Laust Olsen into Paddock Hill. Manages to gather it up on the exit, but that is some valuable time lost. He's now 0.6 back from second.
Oh, Neil Kent spat it. He's looped it into Druids. Just what we were saying before the race, guys. Oh, that's a shame.
A real shame, and he almost got collected by the drivers of Bill Tyler and Mikko Makela. So we'll see what happened here to Neil Kemp coming into Druids Bend. He would have seen Laust Olsen going wide just up ahead of him and thought maybe he could gain some kind of advantage, but coming into Druids, I think he was just a little too hot and the rear end broke free coming into the corner. And once you lose grip in this car, that is just about it. See how close this was. He nearly, that was nearly a protestable move there, unfortunately. But well, Neil Kemp managed to avoid getting in the way too much, I suppose.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. What you said. I think he was watching Laust there. Laust really went in hot, and yeah, I think that just broke his concentration going into Druids there.
Well, and then there were three, as Robert Plumley, it looks like, is still on the back of Gary Quellen. And these guys are now fighting over a top 4 position, not top 5. So, see what they can do. Coming into the 16th lap of this race, Plumley was a 10th quicker than Gary Quellen on the last lap, and you see him rounding him up through Druids, and that's a nice clean exit there. Not using the full width of the track, but that's one of the things about this circuit, Mick. Coming out of Druids, you really want to get over to the right-hand side as quickly as possible to open up Graham Hill Bend, right?
Yeah, and the secret to it is don't brake too hard. If you don't brake too hard, you can actually drive the car out to the right-hand side there. It's sort of the same entry as Turn 1. Sort of you treat it the same sort of way, but yeah, guys are driving nice today. Driving better than I thought they would in this tough conditions. They will really be feeling it out there with the track usage and the weather.
Indeed, and whenever we've gone on board with someone, you've seen that their inputs are just so smooth. I mean, smooth inputs have been always... oh, hello.
Wow.
Well, speak of the devil, Robert Plumley having some issues keeping it smooth there on the exit as they negotiate a back marker on their way down into Clark Curve, and doesn't seem to have cost Robert Plumley all that much. But to finish my point, I was going to say, whenever we go on board with someone, it's amazing to see just how smooth they are. And this car, you have to be smooth in order to be quick. You can see drivers, oh dear, the back marker going for a big spin there. No one else involved. Goodness me, there's just been a lot happening in this race. It's very hard to keep track of who is where and what's been going on, but one thing that has remained consistent is that top battle. As we check out Yanji Lin, he's starting to catch up to the back of Neil Kemp here, and Lin is up 6 spots. We'll see what he can do from here.
Yeah, he was right on the curb there, wasn't he, on the entry that time by as we watched him on the the left-hander down into 30s. Yeah, track limits, unbelievable track limits there. I'm just watching him now as he heads down into the right-hander at the end of the back straight. Sort of midpoint through the turn, nice apex, driving nice and smooth. All these guys are driving nice and smooth. No real massive mistakes. Plumley lost the back end. Nice fast hands from him there when he did that. You need to be really quick. Your reactions need to be spot on when that happens in this car. It does snap on you real violently sometimes, you know. But yeah, I'm pretty impressed with the guys today. None more than Uwe. 17 minutes practice.
Indeed, and he's still one of the quickest guys out there. We check out Mikko Mäkelä, who is chasing down Bill Tyler for 6th here. Mäkelä still vaulting his way through this field. He's up 9 places now into 7th. And, oh, he really bottoms out hard there on the exit. So, easy does it, guys, as he makes his way into the Druid's hairpin with a little bit of a wiggle on the way through. I did notice that fastest lap ticker come up for Sebastian Tixier, our pole sitter. He is starting to come up to the back of these guys, and they'll have to watch out for him soon, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I was watching Mikko when he went through turn 1 then, the car's bottoming out. If he'd have done that about, I'd say, half a car length to the right-hand side, he was looped it, and it would have spun to the left. It's just how that car does that in that corner. It's a bit of a nightmare when it does happen, and you saw how close he got to Bill when he was on the brakes into Druids there.
Yeah, very close indeed. There's going to be no passing opportunity up here at Dingle Dell. Going to have to sit behind Bill and wait for another opportunity, potentially at Clark or even into turn 1 if Bill messes up the exit of one of these following turns. The straight run down to Clark then. And how hard on the brakes is Mikko Mäkelä. He is really charging into every single corner here and extending the exit nicely. Tyler trying to go for the minimum distance line around the start-finish stretch. It's worked out for him for now, but oh dear, that's a little bit of a mess up there into Paddock Hill. He didn't quite get the line right on entry. Managed to gather it up on exit though, which is good.
Yeah, completely different lines from the guys there, wasn't it? And it was interesting
to
see...
no, Kemp again! Oh dear, Neil Kemp has been having a lot of bad luck with Druids, hasn't he? We'll see what happened to him. Coming down into Paddock Hill Bend, and he was feeling the pressure there from Yuanxi Lin behind. Was this contact? He went defensive, and yeah, Mick, I think that that late jerk to the inside to go defensive just unsettled the car right as he entered the braking zone.
Yeah, it looked like he rode up on the inside curb there, didn't it? A lot of chassis twist going on there when you do that, even in the 49 with all this chassis movement and spring movement. But yeah, it won't take much of that if you ride up that inside curb.
Well, the battle continues here between Tyler and Mäkelä, and Mikko was very hot into Sterling's and had to back off on the exit a little bit. But you see, his strength is definitely corner entry, isn't it? Every time you see him entering a corner, he goes right up to the back of Bill Tyler. But Bill is going for the old slow in, fast out strategy, which is allowing him to stay ahead.
Yeah, I like Mikko's line into turn 1 now, though, but is he going to have enough to dive down inside? Oh, I would have had a look there. Wouldn't you, Reese? I would have gone for that.
maybe, but Bill was very early on the turn-in, wasn't he? So I think if the door had opened by that point, it would have slammed shut. And speaking of slamming, the apex was definitely not slammed by Mikko Mäkelä there, losing a little bit of time, but again, it doesn't seem to have cost him. It's amazing to see that some drivers can make what would be very hard to recover mistakes in any other car, or they can just claw that time back on the exit.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I wouldn't expect that. It's as you say in this car normally. You know, if you do make a big mistake like that, you normally see a big gap. But today it just hasn't done that for loads of guys that have messed up in whatever way they have. It just doesn't seem to affect the fight. You know, just watching Mikko there on the power. Oh, he's taking a lot of curb there. I mean,
yeah,
you do want to take a bit of that curb, but not quite that much as they run down under the bridge now into the last turn. Mikko, let's see how he's on the brakes again, but he's good on power now, Reese, as they go down the front straight. Not quite enough to get a run down into turn one, but as they go through turn one, we'll see how the guys do. Nice wide line there again for Mikko, and he's going to try this over and under. You've got to watch the car bottom him out, though. But is he going to go for this dive? No, he's not going to go for it. Maybe later. Maybe he's setting it up.
Yeah, maybe. He could be trying to pressure Bill Tyler into an error as well, as that was the rear end going, no thank you, I'd rather not, on the exit of Druids. And you see that Mikko is being much more aggressive with the exit curb out of Graham Hill Bend as well. Tyler is going for those very straight exits, and that's helping him there in that bottom half of the circuit.
Yeah, and it looks like Mikko's probably fighting the car a lot more than Bill as well. It looks like Mikko's much more on the limit of the car. Mikko's running really wide here, but he got on the brakes nicely. Nice, that was a nice save. Okay, it wasn't an oversteery save, what we all rave about, but saving a car from massive understeer like that is just as good. Nice feathering on the brakes there just to keep it on track.
Yeah, I'd say that understeer is a lot more difficult to recover than oversteer in a car like this as they make their way past Andrew Eng, who's running down in 28th position. Slightly compromised line on the exit there for Mikko Mäkelä. Yeah, with the front tyres and these things being a good bit narrower than the rears, if you get some understeer on into a corner, it's very difficult not to have it plough through the corners. Back to our top three then, and over Trengerade is still leading with Olsen and Olsen battling over second, and we see that John is starting to get some defensive lines on there versus Laust.
Yeah, just watched the gap a couple of laps back. It was only a 10th, and when I looked at the actual battle, the gap had grown out again. So just wondering out there, and that was between Uwe and John. Laust lost the back end badly there, and he's going to really suffer. And he was lucky to hold it there on the left-hand side of the track. Such is the power of this car. You lose it on one side of the track and you get a little bit of a power slide going. You really have to have fast hands to keep it under control. They're just catching another back marker, I think, maybe, but no, not this lap. Maybe next lap they'll be catching up with him. John's all over Uwe now. This has turned into a real good battle. What we got left? We've got 2 laps left now, Reese. This is getting close.
Certainly is. It's getting close between the leaders, and it's close again between Mikko Mäkelä and Bill Tyler. There's some contact between them. I just saw Mäkelä making front end contact with Bill into the Sterling's Bend, and he has lost out, and that means that Sebastian Tixier could be rounding these guys up to recover back into a top 6 finish. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens here in these last 2 laps. Now, Mikko Mäkelä carrying a little bit of front-end damage, which isn't too hurtful in a car like this, but he'll certainly want to minimize his big moves under brakes for the time being. The clock is ticking, though, and it's now a 3-way fight for that 6th spot. It's a 3-way fight for the lead and then a 2-way fight for 5th. This is going to be a fun finish.
Yeah, nice exit for Mikko there. Let's just see how these guys get onto the back straight. I'm expecting Seb to be all over this. And Mikko's getting feisty. He knows who's behind him, so he's not going to want to stay behind Bill for too much longer. Yeah, a little bit of front damage. That doesn't really hurt, as you say. And you would actually get that just with the car bottoming out through turn 1 there. You'd get all that front end damage if he's riding low ride heights. Mikko again all over the grass there. Nice entry. Seb's nice and close there. Then he really couldn't do anything about it now, but watch out for Seb maybe as a little... Mikko's so late there on the brakes, and Seb runs down the outside of the track now. He's not going to be able to get it done, but they go...
hello!
They're off. Oh, Bill.
Oh, okay. It's not how you want to see a battle like that end. Makela going for that desperate lunge up the inside and unfortunately making contact with Bill Tyler, demotes him to 8th, and Sebastian Tixier takes advantage. Overtringerade is locked up on the way into turn 1. The lead is lost for Overtringerade at the start of the final lap. Oh my goodness. John Olsen leads, Laust Olsen in 2nd. Well, Overtringerade not having much practice, and it's bitten him in the rear there, or rather the front right.
Yeah, terrible. I don't know what happened there. Obviously missed his brake marker by miles. He had huge lockup going into turn 1 now. This is John Olsen's chance at the first broadcast win, and he's going to be all over this. He's just had to go around a back marker down on the back straight, and he was well wide doing it. They're into the fast right-hander now. I'm just staying with these guys. This is going to be unbelievable if John can win this. Like I say, he's come from nowhere in this series. He joined us a few years back, a couple of years ago now. He wasn't quick, and he built himself up, and he's just put in hours and hours and hours to get where he is, and this is his chance, Reese.
He is indeed. There's a car spinning there on the exit of Dingledell. Jay Corley, unfortunately, but with only one corner to go for John Olsen, this could be that first broadcast win he's been looking for a very long time. Nails the exit out of Clark Curve, and it's going to be the number 3 of John Olsen who comes away with victory here at Brands Hatch. What a final lap that was. So dramatic. Overtringerade, who had led the race pretty much the whole way, unfortunately losing out right at the end. Gary Quellen coming home in 3rd as well. Have to give a big shout out to him. He was fighting massively with Robert Plumley before and managed to hold him off nicely, but the celebrations will begin here for John Olsen. What a fantastic finish there. I gotta say, Lotus 49 is always fantastic at Brands Hatch. There's certainly no different here. We're going to go on a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. When we come back, we'll go through our official race results and interviews with our top 3. Well, what a dramatic race it was in the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series here at Brands Hatch as we check out the start in the background. Let's run through our official race results. John Olsen takes his first broadcast win in this series by half a second over Laust Olsen. Gary Quellen coming home in third place after a titanic battle with Robert Plumley all the way through. Ove Trengerade will recover to finish fifth after losing the lead at the first corner on the last lap. That will be a big shame there for the driver of the number 8 car in this session. Sebastian Tixier, our pole sitter, will come home to finish sixth after that mistake on the first lap. Miko Makila, with the most positions gained in the top 10, finishes in seventh ahead of Bill Tyler, Yuan Jilin, and Neil Kemp, who had a couple of spins on his way to that one.
Just looking at the F2 guys here, I recognise any names that have done well today. Looks like Marco Lasalgado in 11th spot there. Matt Wright finished in 12th. David Rossi's up there for the F2 in 13th. Phil Hellman in 14th. Mirahazi in 15th. Gary Ho in 16th. 17th was Yanni Linman. 18th was Javier Mosquera. 19th was Paul Wilson. And 20th, Rolly Warbank.
Who finished there for Rowley after starting in 27th. It was a great run through the field for Mats Linden, who started 35th, comes home 21st. 22nd place for Emmanuel Pereira, with Andres Bruno starting outside the top 30 and finishing 23rd. Tobias Harenby will come home in 24th, with Kai Hansen 25th place. Aitor Sintes Galindo will finish where he started in 26th, with Corey Lloyd being the last finisher on the lead lap. And then we got Andrew Eng a lap down. Marcel Pfister, unfortunately, 2 laps down after taking heavy damage along the way. And Nolan Smith 3 laps down in 30th. Jay Corley would come home in 31st spot, with Ferrin Grau 5 laps down. And then we get to our retirements, or rather drivers that got heavy damage. Timo Lashui and Richard Watson, who was our third place starter. Huge shame there for Richard after rear end contact coming into Clark Curve. Our retirements from this one: Robert Reynolds, Jorge Nieva, and Glenn Becker. Big shame for those guys, but the opposite of a big shame for John Olsen, who joins us in the broadcast booth for the first time as a winner. Congratulations, John. That was a pretty tough race between you and Ove all the way through. How did you feel when you saw Ove go straight on at Paddock Hill on the start of the last lap?
Like I just passed a kidney stone.
Oh, fantastic. Well, look, honestly, that it doesn't even tell the full story. You were right there the whole way through. Started in 4th, managed to keep yourself in that top 5 fight all the way through. It was just a case of survival around a track like this, with its elevation changes, its bumps, its curbs. It must have been tough.
Yeah, it was, and I want to apologize to Richard Watson. I drove into the back of him on the first or second lap. Totally my fault. He braked a little earlier than I expected, but I should have expected him to brake early there. And I don't know what happened with Seb behind me. He made he scared me. He went for a pass that was so aggressive. I don't even know if it was a pass. Might have just been showing his nose, and then that was the last I saw of him. So I don't know if I had a part in that or not. But the rest of it was just racing with Uwe. Racing with Uwe is like wrestling with a pig. You know, you wrestle with a pig for 15 minutes, and next thing you know, you're exhausted, you're bleeding, you spit out a couple of teeth, you look over, you realize the pig's enjoying himself. It was 24 laps of that. I'm sitting here shaking like a pig, and to watch him go off like that was just that. I will credit that to Mick. Instead of making a move, Mick has always said that Uwe doesn't like leading, so I thought. Not that passing him was going to be easy, but I was perfectly happy to sit behind him and see what happened. And eventually it paid off. So,
yeah, eventually it did indeed. Well, a win on the books for you here at Brands Hatch. We go to Virginia International Raceway for the next round of the series. Is that a track you're usually good at? How do you feel about that place?
I enjoy it. I'm not very good at it. Although I'm not sure anybody's really good at it, especially in this car. There's multiple places to kill yourself in this thing. It's bumpy. The corners are all pretty bizarre. It's an interesting track. So I'll go out, do the best I can, and hope for the best.
Indeed you will. Well, congratulations once again, John. We'll leave you to enjoy your well-earned victory there. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
Yeah, this week I want to thank my lovely wife, Kim, for putting up with all these shenanigans.
Indeed. Well, big shout out to Kim, John's wife, and we'll leave you there to enjoy your victory there, John. Thanks for joining us. Next up is going to be the number 7 of Laust Olsen, and Mick Claridge is going to have a chat to him about that brilliant second place.
Hi, Laust. We've just witnessed GPL history with John Olsen there. I know you're going to be really happy for him. I just wanted to ask you, what's the highest spot you've ever finished in a broadcast race?
Below the podium, I believe. I think this is my first podium.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
so I'm really happy.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah,
listen, I mean, just watching you there, I mean, you was on pace with the guys in front. I don't know if you expected that. I mean, what sort of mindset was you in there during the race? I mean, was you absolutely 100% on the limit trying to stay with these guys, or what? Tell us about it.
Was pretty much on the limit all the way. I suspect that Ove was not driving 100%. There's no way that I'm going to be able to keep up with him normally, but I really wanted to have a go at John, and came not really close, but had a few times where I think I probably could have come into position, but then got some wheel spin or something else. So. But I was really trying to get past John all the race, so come in a position to be able to do it. But he's so consistent, so it's quite difficult you cannot catch him making a mistake. So and congratulations to him for the broadcast win. That was great.
Yeah, listen, you mentioned a bit of wheel spin there. What was the track like today?
I don't know. I just
you haven't done any practice, have you, Laust?
Oh yeah, sure. I think one practice race, and I think 1/2 hour before each race. So a little bit of practice I've been doing, yeah. But I didn't feel any big difference in the track state. I just tried to be as consistent as possible and not making one of my usual errors, and luckily I managed to stay on track all race, although I was close running off track once in turn 1, but I survived, luckily.
Yeah, well done, mate. How do you feel about VIR next week?
Oh, that's a fun track too. Quite technical one, I think, and one more of those kinds, but fun to drive, and yeah, another great track.
Yeah, cool. Listen, just before you go, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, the community in general, John for the setup, and you for your good advice from time to time. That's really helpful.
What, you mean 100% of the time, obviously?
Sure.
Listen, mate, thanks for coming in, and good luck next week.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
That was Laust. Great second place there for Laust. Looks like we're going to have Rowley coming, are we?
We are indeed, and we have him in the comms box now. Rowley Wallbank, congratulations there on 20th place finish, starting from 27th. It looked a bit chaotic in the midfield there.
Oh, it really was. This is a terrible track for trying to stay out of the way. I found I was behind people as quick as I was in some corners, which check up, but then unfortunately we made no look behind the check up. We had a bit of there it is, bump around the way.
Yeah, indeed. Well, regardless, it seems that Brands Hatch is a bit of a car killer, and being able to stay on track and be consistent is exactly what you need to get a good finish here, as you found out, I suppose.
Yeah, do you know what? As long as I finish with as much green on my iRacing and safety as I can, then I'm happy.
Yeah, as you should be. Well, VIR next week. Have you raced there before? What do you think about that place? Have you done any practice yet?
I haven't practiced, but I know VIR pretty well. I'm not sure if we've been there. I think we must have been there before. I love tracks that look like a drive in the countryside. I normally take a picnic around the pit stop that I inevitably have to do at some point.
Yeah, definitely bring that picnic basket with you to South Carolina. Well, before we let you go, Rolly, congratulations again on your 7th place position gain. Anyone you'd like to thank?
I'd just like to thank John Alston for inspiring me so much. He was as rubbish as I was once upon a time, and then he suddenly became ever so good. And I hate him for it, but I keep an eye out for him and always try to beat him when I'm practicing. So that, and some fella called Mick Claridge, who's sat for hours trying to teach me how to drive this thing quickly, but it hasn't sunk in yet. And everyone who knows me.
Yeah, of course. Well, surely that advice will rub off on you soon, Rolly. Thank you very much for joining us, and congratulations once again. Rolly Wallbank there, finishing in 20th spot. And that's going to leave us here tonight at the Global Sim Racing Channel. Mick, of course, we do go to VIR next week. A fantastic track indeed. I can't wait for it.
Mini Nürburgring. We've already had Alton Park. It's a huge version of that, and I can't wait myself.
I can't either. Hopefully you'll be able to join us for that next Saturday, October 15th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks to the team today. That's going to be Rob, Mick, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, website, and merchandise store. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. And of course, we have next up the Camel GT Championship, 8 p.m. ET. That's going to be at Daytona International Speedway. And of course, we've got the majors coming soon later this month as well. Make sure to check out all of our other broadcasts listed there. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.